Why are you doing this to me?
Waddle was on fire yesterday. It was outstanding. It was one of the more fun shows. They're all fun, but yesterday I was laughing nonstop.
Well, I don't understand it, and I still don't. And look, here's hoping that, as the good kid defined it, as a kick in the rear end. I hope that's all there is, and all it is. Darnell Wright's a talented player, but as an athlete, regardless of your sport, there's really only two things. Maybe I'm being too,
critical?
No. I'm trying to figure the word out because my brain's not functioning.
Give me a hint. Sounds like
not myopic or too basic or too simple with it. Because there are other things you can't. But the two of the most important things you can control as an athlete are your focus and your conditioning. You have control over both of those.
Conditioning, focus, hustle, right?
Yeah,
like that goes
that's
with
effort.
it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? When I'm talking about your conditioning and your fatigue level and all that stuff, I kind of throw that all into your effort. Like your focus and your conditioning. You're not an airline pilot, okay? So you have to know what it takes for you physically to play out there, and he knows.
Hold on. Are you saying that the airline pilots are not in good shape?
I did not say that.
What would you mean by that, though?
The airline pilots, it's not necessary for an airline pilot to go through an entire 6-month regimen of physical activity the way that a starting right tackle in the National Football League would go through. In similar fashion, I wouldn't expect a right tackle in the National Football League to be on an airplane simulator for 6 months trying to figure that out, if you know what I'm saying. It's just, those are the types of things that are disheartening to hear. Is it the end of the world? No. Is it something that need to be said? Obviously, yes, and I'm glad that it was said. But it's just disheartening to hear. Do you think that Dan Rochar is saying, you know what? Joe Tooney guy,
Right. That's a good example.
He's playing really, really good at times, but when he loses focus and he gets a little fatigued, he's not stacking. No. Like, you're never going to hear a coach say that Joe Tooney lacked focus or wasn't in shape at any point. Joe Tooney may make some mistakes physically over the course of time, but you're never going to have to look at Joe Tooney and question whether or not he is focused or he is in shape. And that's why it just was a little disheartening for me to hear that. Again, I expect them to be fine on that side. I hope that Darnell Wright propels himself into that Pro Bowl category type of offensive tackle, and I get it. Lane Johnson plays right tackle, I believe. Penei Sewell plays right tackle. That's tall timber. That's stiff competition. But you know what? You were drafted with the 10th overall selection in the draft 3 years ago. So my hope is that he develops into a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle. So I think that's going to be solid over there. But that's the last thing you want to hear when you got stuff going on the other side.
Right. That's the combo platter. And I want to play you something from polls from a few years ago. But that's the combo platter. You're getting a situation where I don't think they have an answer at left tackle yet. And the right tackle, who is your veteran, who is a top 10 pick, is being called out for his effort, his focus, and his fatigue. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the double dip there.
No, it's why it kind of caught my ear the way it did yesterday.
By the way, the Cubs just took a 1-0 lead. Michael Busch with a home run.
Insurmountable lead.
Their second hit of the game. So Sean nearly took him out just before that, and Michael Busch solo home run.
Didn't Bushy hit one last night too?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
right. That's how they scored their first run. It is 1-0 Cubs, top of the 6th inning. Scherzer pitching for the Blue Jays. So I want to play you this. Like, this came up on the brain. I was having a discussion with someone. I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't know if you remember this. So, first of all, let's set the backdrop. The Bears originally had the number 1 overall pick. And then they traded down to number 9 after they got the trade with Carolina. And yet, the number 1 rated prospect in that draft fell from number 1 to number 9.
Javon Carter.
Yeah, so you could have Carter on the team, and there were questions about Carter. He had the legal issue with the car racing, and then there were there was talk out of Georgia. Does he love football? Is he going to be in shape? Is he going to practice hard and give effort? So now you're having third year. You're wondering. But let's not forget this. Jack, do you have the soundbite from Ryan Poles back after the Bears made Darnell Wright the draft pick in 2023?
Yes, and it starts talking about his private workout with Ryan Poles.
Simo and I went down and worked him out, which was a really big piece. There's an attitude, there's a mental toughness that you have to play this game. With him, I kind of joke around. We brought him to deep water to see if he could swim or not, and he accepted the challenge, and he showed us the grit and the mental toughness to be able to fight through fatigue and all of those things that we look for. So it was a really good experience from start to finish. A guy that we were comfortable with as being the top tackle in the draft.
So he's talking there about putting him through this, and I've got another quote to add on top of it that I Googled today to find out more about this. Like, they wanted to see him, as they put it, quit. Mm-hmm. They wanted to see, would this offensive tackle that maybe there was some talk about not always gives it his best, do they want to see him, is he going to quit on them? And then, so this is building on the one that we just heard. Poles said, and this is back in 2023, about this workout they had with Darnell Wright. After that, we brought him outside, warmed him up, did an individual, got him fatigued. And then he got up to the line of scrimmage, and Simo would call out the play and change at the last second to see if he had mental quickness to change and adjust. He did that for a while, started breathing heavy. We basically put him through a conditioning drill for 5 to 10 minutes. We got him exhausted, and the kid had no fight in him. His body language was excellent. He stayed aggressive, finished. Again, that attitude we're looking for up front. You're always looking to be convicted about things, and that was the final box we were able to check and feel good about.
You said he had no fight in him. Did you mean he had no quit in him? Did you read?
This is the quote that I copied and pasted from Bears.com.
Yeah.
It says, we got him exhausted and the kid had no fight in him. But then he builds him up by saying his body language during that was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an odd quote. Look, maybe this is a one-off. Dan Rochar doesn't feel the same way, obviously, or he wouldn't have said it. He would have echoed those sentiments if that's what Dan Rochar was seeing. So hopefully that this is a blip and it's something that can be addressed. And
but this is what Poles wanted to see 3 years ago when you decided to draft him. It ended up being 10th, but for all intents and purposes, it was 9 because they traded down to 10 with the Eagles instead of going for Carter.
Yes.
And like they were worried, would this kid not be up to it when fatigue sets in? And now, entering his third year, we're having questions about Darnell Wright's being in shape and him getting sloppy when he gets fatigued.
Yeah, it's the reason why I was disgusted yesterday when I heard it. And again, hopefully this is a blip and it'll get addressed and it won't be a problem going forward. But my hope is that Dan Rochar will continue to tell you how he feels about where these guys all are.
Oh, I hope so.
Because you usually don't get that kind of access. And Simo is Chris Morgan, who was the previous offensive line coach. Again, I think this is why you're seeing the kid from Canada get some reps with the first team. They're not happy and content with what they're seeing from guys. Like they're not jockeying the positions from guard to guard. They're rotating guys on tackles because obviously I don't think they're 100% satisfied with what they're seeing. They will settle in with Darnell Wright on the right side, but on the left side, there's a reason why, Braxton Jones isn't getting all the snaps. That's why I think tomorrow is going to be very important to see what kind of order they're placed in and see what kind of performance you have. It's going to be important to see how they perform against the Bills on Sunday night. And then when you start to get ready for the Minnesota Vikings, who's getting all of the snaps? Who's getting all of the snaps for the weeks leading up to week 1?
What do you think? So do you think at left tackle?
I think the starting is going to be Braxton Jones.
So are they – why is Theo Benedict at this time running with the ones? And is this just another message they're trying to send? Is his foot not up to snuff? Like The three guys, as I told you, who were in this competition to start, and they wanted to know before preseason started who their starter was. One guy in the competition is now your third-string left tackle, and then the other guy is running with the twos on the other side at right tackle.
To answer your question, all you have to do is put on the film of the Bears in the red zone in their game against the Miami Dolphins this past Sunday. And it's on the drive where Tyson Bagent throws the touchdown pass to Alexander. On the first play, I believe Tyson Bagent gets sacked.
Right.
Because Braxton Jones doesn't hold his block long enough. Now, it was a hustle sack from the guy, but the guy who was lined up over Braxton Jones actually sacked Tyson Bagent.
Yes.
I believe that was the first down. On fourth down, go back and watch the play. It's a beautiful throw, and it's a beautiful stand tall in the pocket moment for Tyson Bagent. Because immediately when the ball is snapped, Braxton Jones gets beat to the inside, and the guy over top of him is in the face of the quarterback. And fortunately, Tyson Bagent stood tall, and delivered a strike to Alexander for the touchdown. But you can't have those mistakes anywhere on the field, much less in the red zone, and you had two of them from your left tackle. And I can guarantee you that's where some of the concern lies inside this building upstairs is, hey, when we get in crunch time, and and that was against twos. Like, I don't believe the Miami Dolphins were playing their top pass rushers. When you got down in the money zone, your left tackle, who has got a ton of experience, gave up a sack and got beat to the inside. Fortunately, your quarterback made a great play, and so did your wide receiver. So, I mean, that's why you're seeing the kid from Canada, I think, get some reps.
Yeah.
It's just they have not come to the conclusion that what Dan Rochar and what Ben Johnson are seeing from Braxton Jones on the left tackle spot isn't worthy of giving him all of the snaps right now, and he hasn't locked it down.
So for those of you who don't know who Theo Benedict is, Theo Benedict was a rookie last year. He's another big guy. He's very similar to Trapillo, where
It's
he's
like
6'7".
6'7". Yeah.
He's 6'7". Did you know that he grew up in Canada? This is Canadian Day in Chicago. Owen Casey's making his debut for the Cubs, and Theo Benedict right now is lining up as the number one left tackle for the Bears, both Canadian guys. Did you know that Theo Benedict did not start playing football until the 9th grade?
I did not know that.
Did not. So,
he was probably too big to play, probably exceeded all weight limits that may have existed in Little League football.
I'm not sure, or just growing up in Canada, if it's not really there. So, he was expected to be then once he played.
What do you mean they don't play in Canada? That's where Chase Claypool came from, brother. You know he was from Canada?
No, absolutely. I know they play, but it's not like. And he didn't go to an American university, so he wasn't heavily recruited. They were expecting him to be like one of the top draft picks in the CFL draft. He grew up in the Vancouver area. I'm sure he was playing some hockey back in the day. But yeah, this was not one of the options that we had of the three guys in the competition. This is a wild card coming out of nowhere. And like Potsy pointed out, Mark Potash on Twitter yesterday, who covered the Bears for many, many years, he said usually when that happens, that's basically saying the three guys have been more of a disappointment than Theo Benedict has been a standout. Like, when you don't see anything from what you want from the three,
you got to look to other positions.
And like a lot of people like to say to me, Waddle, because I'm very opinionated about this and I'm sick of losing. Whether it's about the Bears or any of these teams, it's been far too long since any of our teams won a playoff round. Any of them. Go through the roster. And so when a lot of people like to say, when I tweet my opinions, that they're doing it the wrong way, they'll go, oh, you have all the answers, Silvy. You should be the GM. My counter to all those people is always, I'm just a dummy. I'm a dummy on the radio. I'm just a fan who's a dummy. But if I know more than the general manager of the Bears that you don't have enough at left tackle this offseason, but this is still your solution, then we've got a problem. That's been my issue all the time. If I can see it, why can't you? I've always used that as the term. Like I said from the start, you didn't do enough. You're relying on the interior to make the left tackle better. Your starting left tackle, who's not good to begin with, is coming off an ankle surgery. You drafted a guy in the second round who's a right tackle, and then the other guy in the competition didn't show you a thing coming out of Yale because not only was he hurt, then when you put him in the games, you developed him the wrong way. You started him in the Vikings game on the road to make it hard against Brian Flores, and you didn't start him in a home game the following week, and you ruined him. So when that happens, when you have a general manager who knows that the left tackle, and he has completely turned his nose up at the offensive line since he got here. The offensive line going into this offseason was worse than the offensive line that Ryan Poles took over. And yet, they still don't have a clear solution on August 14th on who the hell is playing left tackle, let alone forget about the long term. They don't know who's playing this year.
Yeah, they'll figure it out in the next couple of weeks. Whether or not it's the right answer is the question that needs to be determined, or the answer that needs to be figured out. So, look, it's unsettled at this point, to say the least. And there was some hope that this thing would be firm and in place after the first preseason game. That's not the case. Like I did not see a ton of Braxton Jones out there working with the ones. I didn't. So we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll see, you may be forced again. Braxton Jones, I don't think we feel he's an above-average player.
No.
I think he's just kind of a middle-of-the-road. Those that grade these players seem to feel like he's a much better player than what our eyes tell us. If you take that player and you limit him because he's had an ankle surgery and he's not been able to get stronger from his base, which is what the one criticism was, because ask Tom Thayer. Tom Thayer said, smart kid, hard worker,
yes,
good balance, good everything. He just doesn't have, the ass, for a lack of a better term.
He's got all the intangibles.
Yes.
Not the tangibles.
But he doesn't have the lower body size and strength, and he hasn't been able to work on it because of the ankle injury, if you trust the people that you talk to. So, look, I mean, obviously Dan Rochar and Ben Johnson aren't happy with what they've seen so far, and hence the reason why it's a revolving door at the moment.
All right, Bears fans, how do you feel? The good news is today, the offense, it looked crisper today. Now, I wasn't out here yesterday. I did talk to one reporter yesterday who said there was a 3-play stretch where there were a lot of procedural issues, the 3 straight procedural issues. He said other than that, I'm trying to think who this was, whether it was Emma or whether it was Pat, the designer. I was having extensive conversations with both of them today. I think it was Pat who told me he's not a big believer. And Pat, the designer, does our podcast, is out here every day. He hustles his ass off. And he said, I'm usually not a believer in these where you read, okay, he went 15 of 16 today, or he went 16 of 17. He goes, but yesterday, he said Caleb was legit. He said besides those 3 plays when they had procedural issues, he said he was strongly on point yesterday. So we weren't here yesterday. Today, no pads, but they were in full teams. They did do situational stuff. They did do 7-on-7. The ball came out quicker.
Good.
It was crisper. They made plays. Just like when on bad days, whatever it means, we will see once they start playing for real. But it's something nice to build on going into your first game activity on Sunday night.
Yeah, I didn't see any procedural issues. I saw one play in 7-on-7 where there was some confusion with Burden and Rome and DJ where they had to rehuddle. But it seems like the procedural stuff is starting to become second nature for a lot of the guys.
It was one of those plays, and I turned, I think, to Pat at that time, and I said, this is the formation that Waddle loves. This is the very excitable formation. It was Swift in the backfield, and they had their 4 best playmakers on the field, with Loveland and those 3 top receivers in Burden, DJ, and Rome. And right away, DJ kept looking because he knew Burden was not in position, and then he signaled for the timeout.
Yeah, that's
so Burden lined up again. Now he's a rookie. And if anyone knows how to coach these guys up, we saw a lot of issues with Jamison Williams. Hopefully the off-the-field issues with Jamison Williams won't be a part of the factor with Burden. But what they did well in Detroit with Antoine Randall and with Ben Johnson is they coached a kid up who wasn't always on point with where he should be, and they made him a playmaker. And I'm hoping they're going to do the same thing with Burden because he's got skills. He still, at times, is a little lost in these practices.
Yeah, you've got to keep him focused. You've got to keep him kind of engaged, and you've got to keep him on point. he's got an infinite amount of talent. So, I mean, as long as they can get him up to speed with everything they're asking him to do, again, I think you'll see an enormous difference between what has happened to this point, what you'll see tomorrow against the Bills, what you'll see Sunday night against the Bills, and then the following week. Yes, they play the Kansas City Chiefs on Friday, but really, what do you expect them to do during the week? They're not going to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, what I think they're going to do is start installing the game plan for the Minnesota Vikings. So I think they're going to start narrowing back what they've asked them to do at this point, which will make it easier to learn for Colston Loveland and for Luther Burden and for Caleb Williams and everyone involved. So if it's looked disjointed and fragmented and a little bit schizophrenic at times, a lot of that, I think, will be eliminated from the equation, because instead of having 100 plays, just for argument's sake, you're going to have 40. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You're going to pare everything down, and you're going to what I think this coach and this coaching staff, what they're going to be best at is putting together a game plan that will accentuate what everybody does individually well.
Yeah. All right, so 312-332-3776. If you have any questions on what's been going on at Bears camp, Waddle and I have been at the majority of these practices. So we've been to like 2 or 3 practices a week. We're going to be here tomorrow again for the Buffalo Bills joint practice. We were here last week for the Miami Dolphins joint practice. I was here for the most physical practice a week ago. There's been some good activity, and today looked good from an offensive standpoint. The one question mark, and it's a biggie, is who's going to play left tackle. Then we've got some maybe out-of-shape issues with your right tackle. So if you want to talk to us, you have an opinion, you have a question, 312-332-3776. Joniak coming up at 4 o'clock. We have time for your phone calls. We'll keep you updated on this Cubs game as well. They're playing the Blue Jays. It's a big one. It's a big swing game.
Oh, it's a big one.
You'd like to win a series for the first time in a couple of weeks. They're winning 1-0. We'll keep you posted on that. Oh, and Casey came up, and he's in the starting lineup. We'll get to all of that from Hallis Hall on the home of the Bears, ESPN 1000.